What's this? Was that weekend?
I mean, it's what college baseball is all about. It's why the kids come to Louisville, you know, to give that kind of excitement to the fans. And they work hard all summer, all fall, winter, you know, to playing games like that and for weekend series like that. And that's, you know, the ACC, it's been like that. I mean, the weekend at Clemson, the weekend at Virginia, and then, of course, some of these home weekends here versus, you know, Miami and Wake Forest, Georgia Tech. I mean, it's been a lot of fun.
Do you worry about a letdown at all with this group?
No, I mean, that's, you know, as coaches, we worry about everything, and in terms of just every day. It's a new day, and let's not get too comfortable. Let's, in one sense, trust your abilities, but in another, you know, you got to show up with a chip on your shoulder, you know, ready to get better each day.
Why have Louisville and Vanderbilt become rivals?
I think the regional, you know, just because of where we are regionally and in college baseball, they matched us up. I mean, twice they sent Vanderbilt to our regional. Once we went to their super regional, and then of course, you know, last year we met in Omaha, you know, so because we're 2.5 hours apart, it just seems to in college baseball work out like that, and a little bit disappointing in that sense where, you know, you'd rather not maybe meet to Omaha or meet to the national championship, but you hate to knock each other off in a regional or super regional when I know some years you feel like both teams were good enough to go to Omaha.
The success that they've kind of helped your success, competing against them all these times has helped make your program rise a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's good baseball in this part of the country, and we recruit against them, a lot of the Midwest kids, because of the proximity and the distance. They probably go to the Northeast a little more than we do, and they go down in the Florida and other parts. We stayed more towards the Midwest, but we cross with them, recruiting some kids and similar styles. You know, they're aggressive on the bases. They like to steal bases when they can. They pitch great. They have depth in their bullpen. So I think there's been a lot of similarities. I think when you talk about the rivalry, I think sometimes we're mirror images of each other, you know, in terms of the type of team we put on the field and the consistent success we both have.
How do you approach this week with just one day in between this one and then one day in between? I mean, obviously,
it's kind of like what we had last week. You know, we got back from Clemson. We had one day we played Kentucky, one day Florida State, and then one day you play Vanderbilt, and then one day you go to NC State. But I think the kids like it like this. You know, as I say, I love practice. I mean, I get excited. I don't know if they love practice as much as I do. You know, I think they love the game, and I love the games. But you know, as coaches, sometimes, man, we love practice just as much. And these kids want to play. They want to play good competition. And as we challenged them last week, you know, from here on out, it's NCAA baseball. You know, the teams you play are going to be in the NCAA. So you got to throw strikes and you got to make routine plays, and hopefully you get some timely hits and give yourself a chance.
What did you learn about your team over the weekend?
I think toughness is something that we've challenged them all year on, and we've showed our toughness throughout the year. You know, some of our road success, some of our come from behind wins. You know, there's a mental toughness to our group that the culture has carried over, you know, from the past couple of years. I give credit, you know, to the Cole Sturgeons and the guys before this group, and I give credit to Lucas and Whiting and the older guys, and of course younger guys, they've fallen in line. So it's good to see, because it's something we've challenged them all year, is make sure we're tough enough to play in this league and get beat up bad on a Friday night at Clemson or here against Florida State, and you got to bounce right back and get ready to play good baseball, and we've done that.
Not to compare the two, but Zach is on a similar path what Nick was on back in his sophomore year. How are they different? The brothers different, and do they have any more kids?
Yeah, I mean, you know, in one sense you say, well, you know, it's not fair to compare brothers. I think in another sense, when we do compare them, it's a lot of positive stuff. I mean, you talk about, I always think of how hard they work. I think when anybody ever wants me to talk about Nick Birdie or Zach Birdie, what they do between the lines is special, but I see what they do outside the lines. And I've always been impressed. I was impressed when Nick got here and his desire to be great. I didn't know he was going to be that great, but I knew he had a desire to be great. And Zach has falling in line, and the advantage Zach has, and some people will say, oh, you got to follow in your brother's footsteps. Some people look at that as a negative. I see a lot of positives, that Zach got to play that 1 year with Nick and saw how mature and how committed Nick was, and Zach's the same way. I mean, there's a real desire to be great, and that's fun as a coach. I mean, to coach kids that want to be special, want to be great, it's fun coaching.
How rare is it to find an arm that can throw 100 miles an hour?
You know, I don't know how many there are in the world. I don't know, there are 10, 20 guys, you know, maybe 25 at the most, of guys that can throw. You know, you know, yesterday we talked about there's 320 million people in America, and we were talking about the 35 here, and then I think I made reference, I don't know, there's 7 or 8 billion people in the world. I might be off on that, but say there's 25 or 30 that throw 100 miles an hour. I mean, that's a small percentage. So I've been able to coach a couple of them and watch a couple of them. It's really neat.
Yeah.